Yep, we're good.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. It's 6:30 p.m. Today is, we had somebody come in. Today's Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022, because of the election yesterday. And this is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Marquette Township Board. And we're going to stand and say the pledge, if you'll join us. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First, I want to thank Clerk Rattari for getting our, he can talk about it later, but getting our cameras and microphones all updated and upgraded, and it's kind of exciting. You can tell him about it later, but I wanted to thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee LaRue.
Here.
Think about it.
Trustee Winslow.
Present.
Trustee Everson.
Here.
Trustee Marks.
Present.
Treasurer Johnson.
Here.
Clerk Rattari is here, and Supervisor Durant.
Here.
Staff present is Manager Kangas and our attorney Roger Zappa. And on Zoom with us is our Superintendent of Public Works, Lenny Bodinas.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment? Anything you want to say? Okay, thank you. All right, so tonight's consent agenda consists of approval of regular meeting minutes of July 19th, 2022. We have bills payable in the amount of $172,636.43. No other committee or other reports. Iron Ore Heritage Rec Authority, so I put some of their packet in there from July 27th. The chairman's report from the Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority from August meeting. And then I included their 7/20 draft minutes. Something kind of different they're doing. They have a 3-year contract with their recycling sorters, and they decided to bump their wages up early from $16 to $16.68, I think it is. Yeah. And they're only 7 months into the 3-year contract. So they're amending the agreement.
They want to keep the employees, that's what it amounts to.
That's probably true, yeah. And they are working on a PFAS treatment plant, if you'll note, $3.8 million.
Recording in progress.
Oh, good.
Good to know.
So they're gonna look at the county millage maybe, or increasing tipping fees, or maybe a loan to help pay for that $3.8 million building. We also have Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. Invasive species, the spotted lanternfly. There have been some spotting of carcasses in Michigan, but nothing live. And the Department of Agriculture would like everybody to be on alert. There is a picture in the packet because they are destroying trees and grapes and hops and fruit. So they would like you to call them or email them. If you see anything, take pictures, note the dates. It's typically coming from out-of-state packaging. And as I was going through my agenda tonight and looking at my MTA mail, MTA also mentioned it in their weekly newsletter and how important it is, and had pretty much the same information I put in there. So this is a big deal. Spotted lanternfly. They're very invasive, so watch your gardens. And then the U of M close-up survey results, those were pretty interesting, from July 28th. So we just need, if anything.
Move for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Ernie?
I have one comment now on the draft minutes for the Marquette County Solid Waste now, or when board comment, when would be best?
Whatever's fine.
Going through it, there's one comment on public comments on that, and then Carl Ballman made a statement which kind of stuck out to me real quick. He hopes that Marquette County Waste Management is not sliding from a sanitary landfill into a hazardous waste landfill. It has to do with the information or the status coming from the airport. And that's what they're concerned with, that. And that could be a major undertaking or major problem for the landfill and for the residents in the future, if they continue to do that, so.
I did talk to County Administrator Urbish about that, and he said that the federal government is actually responsible for that cleanup, but he cannot, or they cannot get any action, anybody to answer the phone, basically. They're just pushing it off and making the locals do it.
I think the other item in that is that when the old hospitals start coming down, there's gonna be a lot of hazardous material sitting in that old hospital. And that's something else to look at for us going off to our landfill. They should do like they did with the power plants. They sent that downstate, let them worry about it.
Yeah. Well, and maybe,
Our,
maybe I need to comment on this with their next meeting or something, or
I'd be more than willing to go if you let me know. I'll go.
anything else on that, since I already brought it up? Okay, then we need approval of the remainder of the agenda. I'm not aware of any conflicts of interest.
So moved as
Second.
presented.
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay. Board education. We had a discussion at the last meeting about networking with residents and how we talk to them and how we get information to them. And Linda pointed out that it was pretty much just the utility billing. If we put any notices on the back of the calendar that go out with the utility bills, that's really our only connection with the customers, well, they're customers too, but the residents. So I kind of went around the office and checked with a bunch of the staff, and we just kind of brainstormed and kind of chewed on it. And we've got apartment buildings, we've got Lost Creek, and could we contact the managers and ask them to post that in their lobby or by the mailboxes, or could they copy it and put it in the residents' mailboxes, or, you know, so we were trying to figure out how to contact as many people as possible in the township. And actually the voting list was the most comprehensive that we could come up with. So to Linda's question about how do we contact everybody or inform them, if the board thought they wanted to do a mailing once a year or quarterly or whatever to everybody on the voting list, that would be about the only way we could contact everybody. But trying to determine what we would say to them, because, you know, someone in an apartment indirectly pays taxes, okay? But they don't get the utility bill, so they have no idea unless they hear maybe at the TV6 or the Mining Journal or a different radio station that Community Day is coming, or that when the Christmas tree lighting is, or, you know, so I'm thinking that's kind of what you were thinking, is how do we notify people of anything? So typically, you know, we talked about the website also, but if, especially apartment owners is what I was thinking, and maybe even like with Lost Creek, some of them may not have computers. I have a woman who calls me occasionally that doesn't have a computer, so she just likes to get updates from me if it's not in the Mining Journal or on Channel 6. So I thought I'd give you the answer, and, you know, if you think you want to try to explore contacting quote-unquote everybody in the township. Now, not everybody's gonna be on the voting list either, but that'd be the major.
What's an individual cost for mailing something like that?
Well, we have a bulk rate.
Yeah,
Regular postage is 60 cents for 2 pages,
okay.
and so that would give us 4, you know, if we wanted to do front and back on something. But our bulk rate, John, do you happen to know? Maybe it's like half of that?
I don't know that we actually have the bulk rate. We have to go through a printer to get the bulk rate.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure. We may have it for our
We pay a bulk
utility
rate.
billing, but beyond that, I couldn't tell you for sure because I don't really handle that stuff.
yeah. Randy?
Well, I just did a bulk mailing with voter cards, and I got about 400 back. Because you either have people, college students that have moved, so remember, they're on there too, and they're moved, they're gone. There's a lot of people that have moved in the last, you know, and remember, the voting list is updated, but it's still not current, really current at times. So, I mean, if we did a bulk mailing on the voter list, you're gonna have maybe 400 to 500 come back. So that's wasted money. That's
Yeah.
wasted money, in my opinion. So maybe I was thinking, utility billing we do already, but if we can get part of that is in the garbage too, because a lot of folks that don't get the water sewer get the garbage bill, because that's, they're in the garbage. So that maybe is a good start, but
I have talked to two people just regardless of this, and I said something about the back of the billing calendar, and they said, I don't read that. It was kind of funny that that happened to come up. So even if it's in there, they still don't read it. I put mine on the fridge.
That's not our fault.
Yeah, right. But we do have to make the effort to try to get as many people as we can. Ernie?
I would suggest that we go with the back of the mailings that we have for the water and that, and then also try and get with the, like Lost Creek and the rest of them, to see how that works. If that doesn't work, then we come back and relook at it and see what we have to do to get the information out to those people. But start with what we have, and then work through the alternative, which is getting it to the Lost Creek or wherever else, and see what happens in that.
Yeah, I was gonna, I sat there at my desk and thought, okay, I can start making a bunch of phone calls, but before I put a lot of time and effort into it, I wanted to ask you guys to see what you think. Linda?
So I have already contacted Lost Creek, and I have the name of a person. And I just sent her, since the senior event is what triggered some of this, I sent her the dates, and she said she would put it in the newsletter. So I agreed, let's just get a contact person and get her our information and let them do the distributing. I also talked to some people and said, so how do you get your information? Okay, they don't read the mining journal. They don't even subscribe. Okay, that's just how that works. There's a group that does, but there's a large group that doesn't. They don't pick up their paper mail very often. So that's really another group that doesn't pick that up. They said email and text messaging. And we do have an email list.
We have
And we have sent things out because I've received them.
yes, but it's very specific so that we don't overwhelm people with it either. It's, what is that called, a
Last.
Blasting.
email blast?
Email blast?
Yeah. I
Well,
think there's like 400 or so on there.
well,
or 50.
there's 400 more people maybe that wouldn't be getting it. The other thing is, we belong to Lake Superior Community Partnerships. They will do our press releases. We don't have to do that, and they just did one for me for something else I'm participate in, and they wrote it.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons I
So,
brought that up too.
I think we just have to keep working at this.
Oh, sorry.
That's my take, but it is on our list of things that we had agreed we would work on. I like text messaging.
Pete?
There's no one, I found out, there's no one avenue to do it, you have to do it different ones. I would stick with the mining journal, because there's a bunch of people who still have it, like myself. I'm old, but I still believe in it, I think everyone should have it. But it's our only paper, and also some of the others, e-blast and stuff like that. But there's no one way of doing it. You have to spread it out and have it from different ways. You should have, if it's something important and big, hit the Mind Journal, hit TV6, and stuff like that. And then you get your e-blast, and then our monthly newsletter, always put something in there about the same thing. And I've tried different ways, and I'm stuck with the same thing in Harvey for our Lions Club. I don't want to spend 59 cents for 6,000 letters to go out in Harvey, so.
Well, and if somebody's listening to this, and you want to give us your email address, we're happy to keep you posted on the important things. It may even be like 2 or 3 times a year. It's not a lot, because we don't want to overwhelm anybody with things. So that is one avenue. If you want to call the office at 228-6220 and give them your email address, or email one of us and give it to them. Okay, so I'll see what I can find out from the apartments is kind of what I was thinking. That's a little bit tougher because he's got, 5 or 6 different buildings.
Are you talking about Curran or
Yeah.
all the there's many
Yeah,
apartments in
but
the
I mean, that's the
township.
biggest one, yes, we've got.
He
Newton
has
over-
more than 5 or 6 buildings. There's a lot of buildings over
Curran?
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know, he kept adding on.
You know, Lynn, what I've seen in different things, they put like a puzzle together and they change the numbers or the names or something like that, see how many you can find and you can win a prize or something like that. You know, it's goofy as hell, but, you know, it's not working the way we're doing it, so. Buy the Mining Journal.
Yeah. I would be lost without it, I really do. John?
I guess I just need to ask the question, are we being criticized for not communicating enough?
I don't know that.
A lot of people don't know what we're doing.
That's always the case, right? No
Or
matter
they
where
do
you
and they
go.
don't care, or they're good with what we're
So
doing.
that's the thing. Are we spending time trying to figure out a problem that doesn't exist? That's the only question I'm asking. I'm a firm believer in communicating the important stuff to the people that need to know. But if they aren't complaining that we're not communicating with them, maybe we're doing okay. Just saying.
Yeah, we gotta look at both sides. Linda?
Yep. I don't think, I don't think people are complaining. I think it was one of our goals to increase communication to our residents. So in response to you, it's not a problem that's been identified from complaints. But it is a problem this board identified. We feel people don't get the information.
They're getting the
We'll
information
we'll see who gets the information for the event on Saturday and where those people come from to come to our event. And how many township people don't even, maybe they don't care.
They get some of the information, but it's missing information. You know,
Well,
they're not
that's
getting
true.
the real facts of it, unless they go to Big Boy.
Okay, anything else? I just wanted to follow up. All right, I'll see if I can make some phone calls. Community linkage. Anybody have anything that they wanna share? Are they hearing anything? Phone calls? I did get, one of my emails today, or maybe it was MTA. The 2020 census, Michigan census, has been confirmed. And there are 10.7 million people in Michigan. And 52% of them live in townships. Ta-da! So townships should have more of a voice. Stop taking local control away from us. So I thought I'd share that.
Lynn?
Yes, sir.
Getting more and more people are asking me about, and telling me about intersections that they can't, and it's blindsided. You know, coming intersection, too much brush and that. So that's what we're working on now, is trying to identify them and then cutting back. So residents can cut the corners. If you live on a corner and there's brush there, they can cut it. I found out today.
C-A-N, can?
Can, C-A-N.
Okay.
They can go brush it out, and they should keep it as open as possible, because we got some really bad intersections that people pull up to and they can't see. So that's what we'll be working on, but I mean, I get more and more calls and people telling me when I'm out about that, so.
And fire hydrants too. We gotta keep those clean like in the wintertime. Linda?
So who is the resident that can clean it? Can I go clean an intersection I can't see around, or can only the landowner
He said that,
adjacent
the way
to
the question
that?
was given to him was, can the landowner who
Oh.
lives there? Now, I'm gonna go talk to some of the people and just tell them that they can cut that, or I'll cut it for them.
Okay.
Because there's some
There's
dangerous ones
some
that should
bad
be taken
ones.
care of.
Okay. Yeah, otherwise we'll have all the residents cutting all the corners that aren't adjacent to their land.
Okay.
Hope I don't get shot.
Dan?
We had a tree that was on a wire, and it actually caught fire across the street from my house. And Board of Light and Power came and cut the top and actually cut the whole tree down because it was rotted. And the question came up when they were up in their bucket, can you go over, I mean, it was literally 25 feet away, can you go over and trim those branches by the street light? No.
Who can't do that?
Board of Light and Power that was in the bucket said that they couldn't do it.
Yes, you can.
They probably had a work order and that's
Well,
all
they were right there, for God's sake, you know, it would have taken 5 minutes.
Well, like, my question to them is they could cut it, and if they don't cut it, do we get a discount because it's supposed to shine 30%? I said, okay, we want half our money back.
Okay.
They told me they can cut it before.
Well, unless they have to have a work order for it, they didn't mention that, the workers just said, no, we can't.
Because they don't have a work order, but they can do it.
Well, when you're right there, for God's sake, cut it.
This spring I called about 3 trees that were on Grove Street that were on the wires. I called BLP and she was very grateful that I called.
Yeah.
They're still there.
But you call them up and tell them they have to.
I'm
cut it.
guessing those trees or branches are on lower lying wires that are not BLPs. Those ones don't get touched very often.
They're all,
They're,
Okay, but there's power, there's cable, and there's phone all on the same poles.
I was
Phone
talking
is
about
usually-
the ones that were obstructing the light.
Yeah, I understand that. My guess is they told you no because they were on storm cleanup. And that was their only responsibility. That's my guess.
You didn't want to get in trouble.
makes sense.
Without talking to them, I wouldn't know the actual answer, but that would be my guess, considering we had the high winds we did.
Might make sense, but it doesn't make any common sense.
There's no such thing as common sense anymore. It's now uncommon
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
So what are we gonna do about this?
If you see something like that, you call me up and tell
Okay.
me where it is.
There we
And I'll
go.
get it taken.
You get a
Can I
bucket
get a
truck. and-
bucket?
Get a bucket truck and
I'll get it
I'll,
taken care of. Yeah.
Pete, we'll get a bucket truck, you can drive it, I'll go up in the bucket and I'll cut them,
All right,
okay?
yeah. No, just let me know because I'm compiling a list of intersections and also lighting, so just let me know. If I don't have it on my list, I'll put it on my list.
Okay,
So do the residents need your phone number, Pete?
No?
on the website.
It's on
Yeah,
the
if they want
website?
to.
Okay, well, I mean, you know, we wanna
Yeah.
make it easy for people, right?
Yeah, call me up on my cell phone.
Gonna give them your
Yeah,
number?
906-250-9934. As long as I get coffee and a cookie, I'm all right.
All right, onward.
Yes, onward.
Authorize supervisor to send a letter to Marquette County Sheriff Department regarding our vehicle. Our manager put this in, I know it's got my name on it, but the manager put this in there so we could have the discussion.
If you'd like, I can start.
Sure.
And maybe there's a better approach to this than the suggestion that's in the packet. And that's to request the sheriff come and visit us at a board meeting as soon as possible. So they can hear straight from your mouths what your desires are regarding the next patrol vehicle for the township. Because that's really what this item on the agenda is about. We heard what one of the patrol officers feels would make sense in order for that officer to do the job that we expect of them, which is improve traffic safety issues in the township, whether it's writing tickets or not. In order to do that effectively, being too visible is an issue. I think there's a little bit of a conflict there between what the officer thinks might be appropriate and what the sheriff does. And I don't know what you as a board decided before I came about the color of the vehicle either. Should it be white and visible and easy to see so people slow down before they get a ticket? Or should it be dark so you can hide and actually maybe write a few tickets so people get the hint that we take speeds in our neighborhood seriously? I can't make that decision for you. I historically have probably had a slightly heavy foot myself, and I know I wouldn't want to get a ticket, but at the same time, I don't know that I've gotten one in a while either.
Just mention my name, you get a 10% discount.
Randy?
I'll make a motion to authorize the township supervisor to invite the county sheriff to the future board meeting to discuss the preferences for our next patrol vehicle.
Support.
Second.
Lots of support.
I'll just at this time voice my opinion that I would like to see a black SUV. I think black is a lot harder to see, and I did talk to the sheriff, and he said, what do you want him to do? Be able to write tickets? And I said, it's kind of the point. If they're not as visible out there, and when he comes here, I will have a discussion with him. I don't think a white vehicle is appropriate for some of the things that they need to do. And if their officers are bold enough to come up and express their opinions on what they would like to see, then I think we should listen to them. And that's as far as I'll go with that for right now.
Okay.
If I just might add, I think it's important that the sheriff know exactly how you feel about what you're willing to pay for in the contract we have with them. You're agreeing to pay for a vehicle, but we also want a vehicle that's appropriate for our needs when they're done with it, right? We do know that these low-to-the-ground cars are not appropriate to take beyond the Forestville trailhead. But we have plenty of business to do beyond there in many directions. You need more clearance. You need, yes, that does have all-wheel drive, but it's not gonna take much to get stuck on Forestville Road or Harlow Lake Road. I guess they become one and the same eventually, but we have plenty of reasons, whether it's zoning, assessing, you name it, to get to some of these places that these cars are not appropriate for, so. As far as the color goes, I'm not here to make a recommendation. I just know that there's strong opinions about it, and the sheriff probably should know before they order another vehicle. Because we missed our opportunity with the last one.
What the color is?
Did we? Did we?
Well, hang on.
I don't know. That's all I'm gonna
Wanted to
say.
comment.
We have a contract with them, correct?
Yep.
We do.
So the contract needs to be very specific, obviously, because there seems to be some issues here.
Well,
So
it's
can
not
I have a
specific about,
copy of it?
you certainly can, but it's not specific enough about the vehicle, I don't think.
Well,
Because
maybe.
it's about what you're willing to pay to have a deputy in the township 2 shifts a day.
Right, but we are supplying a car, and that has to be somewhere in a contract. We would not, as a township, be able to just say, here, we're giving you a car, do what you choose. I can't believe it's not part of a
Well,
contract.
you're
Am I-
taking great risk by saying that.
That I can't believe it's not?
Well,
It hasn't been an issue. It wasn't an issue when we put the contract
we
together.
changed the type of vehicle we would like to have.
How?
As Randy was leaving and I was coming in.
Okay, all right, but I think we have to go, in my mind, whether it's right or wrong, or to risky or not risky, we don't just, we need to have some documentation as to what it is we're doing here.
We have an agreement. I'll get you a copy of it.
Okay,
We'll
that's
verify
all
what
I
it says
kinda want.
regarding vehicle, but I would guess it does not get specific about the type of vehicle. It just says that we'll provide it or purchase it.
We
for them,
will
and then we get
provide
it
it.
back.
And then we'll get it back.
We don't order it, they do.
Well, maybe that's what some of the chatter was about that I was not part of, and I don't know, I'm like you, I wasn't here when some of this happened, but it's okay to change.
I'll get you a copy of that, though.
He-
As you look around, you'll see, I believe Ishman got a 4-wheel. You've got, Marquette has one. I think Chalkley has one. And so they're not all cars, no, not like they were before, so.
Okay, Dan? Oh, were you first, Ernie? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think we're talking about the vehicle. We need to look at a vehicle that is useful for our officers, and that's also gonna be useful for us when they're done with it. So it's a 2-pronged thing that we have to look at. So, and we have to see which is the best. And if we're gonna use it afterwards, and they can still use it in their daily businesses, then we'll have to go that direction. That's my feeling in that. So if it's an SUV, fine. And that's what they're gonna be using for the 18 months or so, and then when it's turned over to us, we have it for usage within the township, and it can be utilized then.
We've been budgeting for the upgrade in cost as well. And that was a decision that was made during the budgeting process, so that's not the issue. The issue is we need to make sure they understand what our expectations are, and if they have concerns about it, that they're voiced to you, so you understand why we may not get what we want if that's the case. It may not be, we don't know.
They'll get the car back if we don't get what we want next time. I'll make sure of that.
We don't have to be,
Well, I wish I could say more. I really do. The car, the SUV that we wanted was very clear to Kangas and Zybert that that's what we wanted. And they went above our heads and gave us a car. And when the sheriff gets here, I will get a little bit more into that on where our vehicle went. And I would also like to say that I'm tired of this, and I think that we should really look into getting our own two-man police department. 80 hours a week, we'll have our car, we'll have our police, and they can take, and they won't get our money anymore. Basically, that's where it goes.
that's a whole nother discussion.
It is, but that's something we really should think about.
We can put it on the agenda and have the conversation.
Okay, I'd appreciate it.
John?
I just would like to suggest that in inviting the sheriff to come to our meeting, I think one of our, either the supervisor or our manager, should prep him to know what our concern is and why he's coming, so that we're not trying to trap anybody. We want to have a gentle discussion about what our concern is. And I would urge you to pass on what our thoughts are early on. Thank you.
Call the question.
I was just gonna read, the.
Call the question. I had enough.
Okay,
It's enough.
What's the question?
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Question on that, though. Do you have an idea on a date? I mean, when you're gonna ask him, is it gonna be fairly soon?
I'll call him tomorrow.
Okay. good.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
usually do this stuff
Thank you.
in a day or so. We'll see what his schedule is too. The contract just says the township will purchase one new vehicle from the fleet. That's it. It wasn't an issue before,
From the fleet, what does that mean?
probably where they buy their vehicles from. Fleet purchasing.
They bid them out through the My Deals program, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Just so you know. Sir?
Before the sheriff does come, can you get a hold of Mr. Randy Gerard and ask him specifically what the conversation was on the vehicle when the last one was ordered?
Does it make a difference now?
I think so.
Because don't we want to just worry about what's going forward?
Yeah, but more information will come about, so I just would like to know that.
Okay?
I'd be happy to contact him as well, if that's
Why don't we
okay.
have our manager call?
Okay?
Thank you.
As long as we're not duplicating efforts, maybe Lynn, we can just touch base tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I will give him a call tomorrow. All right, waive township alcohol policy for Lions Field on Community Day, which is this weekend, August 6th. Mr. John?
This is an annual thing. The normal rules are not to allow alcohol consumption at Lions Field, but because that is part of the festivities that occurs for Community Day, people bring their own. Policy is to, you would need to grant an exception to the current policy to allow it this one day, this coming Saturday.
Okay, Dan?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to waive the township's alcohol policy for Lions Field Recreation Area from 8 AM to 10 PM on August 6th, 2022 for Community Days.
Support.
And support, discussion? Pete, didn't you tell me it was from 10 to 10? Is it from 8 to 10?
It's advertised as 8 to 10.
Okay,
8 to 10, 8 AM till 10. I think the bouncy house is gonna be 10 to 10, 10 to
Okay.
4.
I see, okay, yeah, that's what we were talking about.
I think they're inflatables.
What'd they say?
Okay. Comments, suggestions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, consider Lake Superior Community Partnership partner benefits. This kind of ties in a little bit to, well, it says presented by Supervisor Durant, but that's okay, because John typed that up too. But this was, the purpose of this was just to reiterate, as kind of what Pete said before about e-blasts and stuff, of which most of those are businesses, you know, from the partnership, that list of 2,500, and press releases. So the Small Business Administration side of our membership with them, like it says on here, is 30,000 partners. They do offer all these different kinds of insurances and discounts, all the way to all state identity protection. So I put this out purposely so everybody would know, again, the benefits that we have with them, and point to getting some quotes or RFPs or whatever you want to call them on some of our insurances. We were going to do this a few years ago before John got here, and we kind of lost track of it. Our liability insurance, we kind of really didn't. We started the process and didn't go any farther. So again, I just want to reiterate what's available. They do grant writing. You know, we're writing grants all the time. We have basically 2 people doing it. Mike Springer was the third really doing it. If we have press releases, if you think of stuff that we need to do, we need to get a hold of them. We probably didn't send them anything on Community Day. We should have. NMU Falls Fest, that's for the employees, you know, trying to get employees and stuff. Almost the same thing with Level Up. That's all kind of business oriented. But we do have a motion authorizing the township manager to investigate other options. So we kind of put these 2 together. Ernie?
I'll make the motion, but I want to change one word in the motion. It says from other to all. I want to make sure all health insurance options, not just other. I want to look at all. The motion I'll make, authorize the township manager to investigate all health insurance options for the township employees.
I'd further that, I'd support that if it says all insurance options, just
that's
not
what I
only
thought you were
health,
saying.
but other things too.
Okay,
Yeah, not just
okay,
health.
let's drop
So,
the
you know,
health
that-
out of it.
Yeah,
too.
and that's what I was thinking, so we'll support
So
that.
investigate
All
insurance options, okay. So we have a motion and support.
Discussion?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
All is a pretty inclusive word. How far do we want to go?
That's why I put it in there.
Whatever you want to do.
Well, how many
We have a lot of insurance,
Life, dental, vision,
we have power plant, we have the
Liability.
whole works in that. We
Yeah.
have everything.
Right, but all options, do we go to every corner of the earth, is the question.
Yeah.
Do we want to look at all local options?
I would say local, because Lake Superior Park,
But-
I mean, we should
You're
just be
just
going
looking
through.
at what
You
they're
just
offering.
avoid the word.
Yeah,
Just take out other for now until we get a report.
I think the key is we want to create a competitive process to hopefully improve upon what we currently have. From a service perspective, from a cost perspective, from a coverage perspective, any of the above, right?
Yes.
We want to improve the situation we're currently in to the benefit of those that are paying for it, which is the taxpayers. So, I have an attorney sitting next to me, and I know they're very specific about words. When I hear the word all, I feel like that might be a all-consuming effort.
Makes sense.
Change it back to other then that doesn't pin you to all.
Why don't we ask Roger?
Well,
Why don't we let him do it?
What do you think, Roger, the
He's
wording?
got all of his time.
Well, all means
Oh,
all, every
Exhaustive.
option under the sun. So if that's what you want to do, that's certainly your prerogative.
Well, and actually, some of our policies aren't yearly either, right? Aren't some of them 2 or 3 years, so they wouldn't necessarily come up for bids anyway? If we're talking about liability, that would be different.
A lot of them have annual renewals, and we have been intending to do it regardless. I think the biggest issue with my first year in the job is the transition was enough, and just finding the time for it didn't happen. But it's on my sticky note to do it this year, and it's gonna have to, that process will have to start soon. I know I have probably 3 or 4 contacts that are interested in providing quotes on various policies already, so, and that's not really even leaving the county.
Well, some of the bigger companies, whether you're looking at like Iron Range on the west end or Vast here, do multiple. They've got health and dental and life. Some of them will have disability packages or liability packages. So, I mean, if you know, if you're thinking, Ernie, like he said, local, contact some of the bigger local ones and see if they can give us.
that's why I said other, because then it doesn't pin you down to
Not just
all or
health.
more.
Or,
I think we also have to be very careful about the health insurance policy in that you pick certain policies, you're only going to be able to go to certain places to get coverage. But anyway, I guess just want everyone to be aware of that.
Can I throw something else out?
Yeah, it's your motion.
Authorize the township manager to investigate all local insurance options when possible for the township.
I don't have a problem with that. All local.
Or still take out all and put other.
If we advertised it locally, like in our local newspaper, that would be a very easy way to limit it to local vendors, but we can also reach out to them individually with the advertisement.
I don't know if I like the word all still. I think other or more is better.
Yeah, I would take out all and put other.
Okay.
Other
Other
insurance
local,
options.
yeah, other insurance.
As long as it's the coverage is inclusive of going out of town instead of in town. Because you go to doctor now, all of a sudden Marquette will send you to Mayo or something like that, and you wanna make sure your coverage is covered.
And it's for the township, not just for the employees.
yeah, and some places, some people have insurance and it's not covered. That's
Right.
how it works. That's what you get.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, what do we decide on now?
Randy, do you want to read what you think we've got?
Well, this is the one that I agree to. Authorize the township manager to investigate other insurance options for the township. And then that doesn't pin him to anything. He can just explore.
Right.
Because anything that he discovers that he might want to act on has to come back to us anyway. So,
To address the treasurer's concerns, though, I get what you mean by saying all. We want to have as many options as possible to give ourselves the best chance possible of improving our current situation. So
Even if you
I'll try to
have,
find all the reasonable options available
if
locally.
you only have 2, at least it's an option. You know,
Yeah.
2 health policies or 2 liability
Yeah.
or 2 disability.
That being said, you know, we probably also need to be careful about sticking just to Marquette County because our current provider is in Houghton County, I believe, so.
So all this motion does is the board's authorized you to go out and look for other options, basically. And that's what we want.
That sound good, Ernie?
That sounds good.
You're good, Ernie, or Randy?
Yeah.
We changed enough, I think I got to where we want to go.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Change that. All right, Lions Field vandalism discussion. Take it away, John. Or
This is actually
Lenny.
Lenny's.
Yeah, he was gonna talk about it.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, not a problem. So this basically, unfortunately, we're going to be talking about vandalism over there at Lions Field. As some of you might know or might not know, we had an incident of vandalism a couple days ago over there last week, I guess. This is not the first time. This is not even the second time that we've encountered this over in that area. For some reason, that place is just a magnet for different types of carving things into some of our the playground equipment, carving or magic marker on stuff, breaking stuff inside the warming shack at the ice rink building. We had it locked primarily for the warmer weather months. We were opening it for the cold weather months for use in the ice rink, but it seemed like we were getting a lot more vandalism inside the building and outside the building itself during the warmer months, so we had locked it up. We recently had some people who were using the playground facility there. They wanted to use it for their children. We do have a portage on there, but they didn't want to walk their kids all the way over to the pavilion because it's too far for them. So they asked if we could open up the ice rink building again, and we had some discussions about it. We decided to give it a try, open it up, and within, I believe it was like 36 hours or something like that, it was vandalized again. In the past, we've actually had, the sink ripped off the wall in there. We've had the toilet broken. We've had other incidents where there's holes in the drywall. The doors themselves have been destroyed, banged, like people really breathing on the doors and stuff. So we have made our repairs to that facility now. I believe we are locked again for now. Well, I think there's a few other things that they have to do there. This time, the people who did vandalize the building, they actually took responsibility for it, and they acknowledge it, apology letters. In the past, we've actually also identified multiple people who have vandalized the building, had their names, had them on camera, went and talked to them. Once it goes beyond our local sheriff, it goes up the food chain from there, nothing happens. It's just the way it is. There's lots of other crimes that are happening in the township and the county at large, and that's kind of really low on the priority list. So I guess what we're doing is we're looking for guidance from the board. What does the board want us to do? Do you want us to keep that building open for the warmer weather months? Should we shut it down? Is there other things that we could do to try to dissuade people from vandalizing it? Should we trespass order people that we find that have vandalized any of our facilities? We do have cameras. We do see everything that's going on, but the cameras are not acting as a deterrent. We are catching them. We are seeing who they are, but they're doing the damage, and then we have to kind of live with the consequences after that and make repairs on this stuff. So I guess the long and the short of it is we're just asking for guidance to see what the board wants us to do, how the board wants us to proceed.
Ernie?
I have a question. Who has paid for the repair of it? Are they vandalism, whoever we identify paying for it?
In this instance, they will be, but in prior incidents, I can't say the word, in prior things that have happened, those people did not pay even though they were identified.
Well, we can go to small claims court. It doesn't cost us that much to take them, even though they're juveniles.
You might end up spending more going to claims court than you're actually going to get, though. This particular instance, as far as I know, we had 2 holes in the drywall that had to be repaired, and then the painting, and we had door hardware that needed to be replaced for sure. We got lucky this time in that the perpetrators, when they were identified, accepted the responsibility. And I guess, you know, are doing the right thing. Whereas the prior two went nowhere beyond the sheriff's department. So the trespass.
Those actions were quite significant, the prior, where they actually ripped the sink out of the wall and broke the toilet. So that damage was very significant.
I believe the trespass order is probably something you should strongly consider moving forward, and that when somebody does get caught, you tell them you can't come back here for a year. And if you get caught, then the ramifications are greater because now you're also violating a trespass order.
Linda?
So Lenny, the bathrooms by the baseball field are open, correct?
Yes.
So what's the difference? What's the difference between those bathrooms and the bathrooms by the park?
Well, the bathrooms in the ice rink are more like your residential bathroom with regular sink and the toilet, whereas the ones at the pavilion are everything's stainless steel in there and it's concrete blocks, so you really have to do some work to damage that equipment there. They're probably gonna more likely hurt themselves damaging the equipment at the pavilion versus the equipment that's there.
So maybe.
Not saying that it can't be damaged or vandalized.
So maybe long-term, we need to be replacing the equipment at the park with, I'll call them unbreakable pieces. The stainless steel toilets, the whatever. I know there's a cost to that, but I'm the grandma or the mom that wants those bathrooms opened. I'm not gonna run a 2-year-old who's potty training or whatever all the way across that baseball field. I like the bathrooms opened. I did some research to look at what other communities have done, and, you know, the neighborhood wouldn't like one of the options, which was to put a lot of lights up, and lighting does deter people. I like the cameras, and I like holding people responsible, and it's unfortunate that our system doesn't hold people responsible. I don't think kids should go to jail, I don't, but I think they have to be responsible for their actions. And maybe their parents have to be the responsible party. I don't know that. But I am here to say that I do like the bathrooms opened, and maybe damage does not happen between 8 and 6 at night, and maybe the bathrooms are closed after 6 p.m. I don't know. I don't know. Once it gets dark, you're in trouble there. That's what's probably the case. So the bright lights would certainly work. And how?
Some of our damage has actually been occurring just right during the day. This particular instance was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Actually, we had some staff was actually mowing the grass out there.
Oh my gosh.
In the ball field itself. And then I believe some of the prior ones, there was a gentleman who was trespassed out of there, I believe about a year ago. He was drinking or on other illicit substances. He was harassing people and in and out of the building. I think he was sleeping in the building. That was actually during like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I believe the instance where the sink got ripped out of the wall was like at 10 o'clock in the morning. So a lot of this has actually been happening during the day.
Huh.
It's just people are very bold.
We need our policemen to be present down there, Dan, present.
No comment.
Randy?
Yeah, I chatted with Lenny, and I did chat with the manager about the situation, and I said, maybe we have to rebuild that bathroom to the same standards as the pavilion, steel stuff. And if we got cameras there, we know who the people are, and if they get caught, we issue a trespass order. The city does that quite often to a lot of folks, and you can keep them off of public property if they've done something wrong for a period of time. And if they violate that, then there's more serious ramifications. But you know, we're getting resources for our taxpayers for these facilities, and you know, it's just a shame that they're getting destroyed. So I think that's a viable way to go. Maybe Lenny can find out what the cost would be to put those more unbreakable stuff into those facilities and see where we go from there. Maybe put steel doors in, not wooden doors, and then, I mean, that's, It's sad we have to do this, but to protect our resources, we might have to do that.
Pete, did you have your hand up?
The whole reason for putting that building up was because we had the kiddie park going in, we had the ice rink there, and for people to take their kids and go to the bathroom. We have to find another way to making it work. You know, just cut back on the hours at night, 1 hour or something like that, and do something, have checks during the day, or something, whatever. But we have to find a way to make it work. That's all I can say is just, I go by at night several times when I'm going someplace, and that's usually the one street I go up and down. And I watch for kids, but usually when I go by, there are not too many kids there, so we just put our heads together, try to make it work, have the sheriff department go by there more often. And then either, or Public Works, make them slide by there and, you know, when they're going somewhere, go up that street.
Well, Lenny said they were cutting the grass, and
Yeah.
apparently that, they didn't think
But
they
they're
were
not watching the
employees,
kids,
maybe?
when they're cutting grass, they're minding something else, but just have the visible, somebody visible going by, you know, and then you see a bunch of kids and you stop. You know.
But we're not babysitters.
No, then, shoot them then.
Dan?
Lenny, the times before, were they younger kids that you did catch, or were they older delinquents?
There was the two people who ripped the stuff out of the wall were adults, I would say probably 30 years old. Then some of the other times they were kids, younger people,
We do.
probably like 14, 15, 16 years old.
Can we not hold the parents responsible then? I mean, if the sheriff, if the law enforcement can't do anything, if they don't have the time to prosecute and move things forward, why can't we make the parents responsible for taking care of the bills?
We did have discussions with Roger, and maybe Roger, you can explain it a little bit better than I can.
There is a statute that allows exactly that, depending on the circumstances. It's not a preventative measure in the sense that I'm not sure how much it'll deter kids from vandalizing, but a township is permitted, if they can determine the identity of the perpetrator, to hold the parents of an unemancipated minor responsible for any willful or malicious destruction of property up to $2,500. Now, it's my understanding, for example, this is happening with multiple kids. A lot of times, it's not just one kid who goes in there and decides to rip a sink off the wall. So it's a $2,500 per person. So in other words, if you've got two kids that are engaged in the malicious or willful destruction of the property, then the parents with whom they reside can be held responsible for up to $2,500 each.
And why wasn't that done?
I wasn't aware of any.
What about the 30-year-old guy?
No, he said there was some
Well,
younger kids.
He would be
that were
responsible
before.
himself, but then again, you still have to, just because you get a judgment, that may work in some percentage of the time of people voluntarily paying it, you still have to collect that somehow. So if you have a 30-year-old person sleeping in the bathroom,
You're not going to.
collecting that against him or her may
got
be a
it.
bit of a challenge.
You've got a juvenile that's doing it, and you have them identified on camera, and the law enforcement, it goes up the ladder as far as it went, and nothing's done. Well, then why isn't it that the parents are held responsible?
Oh, maybe that's the second question for the sheriff when he comes.
If I may
Explain.
comment on that,
Sure.
Sure.
without getting into any specifics, the parents that take responsibility for their kids' actions will pay. Those that refuse to take responsibility for their kids' actions are gonna be very difficult to collect from. And I can tell you, having been in this situation before, it can become a very quick waste of your time going to the courts to get it to happen, because they're going to
You bet.
negotiate something that is not in your favor.
You bet.
You're gonna waste a lot of time and energy to get very little. I've witnessed it myself.
So then the kids just do it again.
Well, that's why I'm suggesting this no trespass order, because that ramps up the ramifications.
That's good.
But also, what Linda was suggesting is gonna be very important here. If you insist on keeping that facility open for the convenience of the users of the park, we have to make it more vandal-proof. The fixtures in the pavilion are basically prison-grade fixtures. That's what we need to do. No more drywall. We need to go to cinder block, because you're not gonna break cinder block with your elbow or your fist or your skateboard or whatever it is. You're gonna hurt something or break whatever it is you brought with you before you break a cinder block wall. It's gonna take something far more blunt than that.
Lose some stainless steel over the drywall.
Should we start with getting a cost for that? Ask Lenny or you work together and find out what it would cost to kind of kid-proof that? At
Well,
least
it's
give
gonna
us-
have to be adult-proof, because adults are
True.
far stronger than most kids. Anyway.
Roger, can you talk about the trespass? I had a different, I had a state police, when we had the hotel, explain it differently to me when we had some kids break in. And it wasn't just a slap on the hand. It stayed on their record forever. So are there two different kinds of trespass, maybe? Or
Well, I'm not
doubles?
sure what you were dealing with, but basically, I believe what's being proposed is a trespass order that just tells the perpetrators that they are not welcome back, and if they do come back, they are then trespassing and they would be charged criminally. It is not a criminal proceeding. It's an issuance of an order indicating that if they do come back, they're uninvited, and they are trespassing. And at that point, that's when the criminal procedure would be commenced.
Okay, and it was suggested maybe that we would do this for a certain time, like for 6 months they can't, or?
It's my understanding that some of the other local jurisdictions usually attach a timeline on that. In fact, it almost certainly needs to have a timeline. You can't prevent a 15-year-old for 30 years from coming back to the park. So a matter of a couple of months or the remainder of the season, that's kind of discretionary depending on perhaps what the infraction is even.
John?
I talked to the city police chief, who wrote plenty of these in his career as a police officer. They usually write them for a year in the city.
Can you get them to enforce them to help clean up the township?
The city police chief? No.
No, not the police, the kids.
Actually, he might volunteer as a
Yeah.
resident.
I talked
Randy?
to the judge and he said he should do that.
So I think it would be prudent to have Lenny investigate how much it'll cost to vandal-proof that facility. And go start, that would be one. And then anyone caught doing anything that shouldn't be happening there, we issue a trespass order. And that's, I guess, all we can do at this point.
Can we look at the lighting too? Can we look at, is there a way to increase lighting without impacting the residents? So in other words, I don't know, are there big bright lights around the playground that turn off at a certain time? Are there bright lights around the ball field that turn on? Is it all on the same switch time? Does that make sense?
I do not believe so. I believe the pavilion, the pavilion and then the rink have their own lights, exterior lights.
So what I read when I went on and did a search, they said lighting really helps.
2 of these have happened in the middle of the afternoon.
Well, I know that, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. I mean, let's be preventive, let's look and see what lighting costs, and if the lighting is already there. I know the ice rink is lit up in the
It's on
winter.
timers,
In
right?
use. Only when it's
That
being
is, yes,
used.
the rink itself is.
It's lit up all the time the ice rink is there, whether somebody's skating on it or not at night.
Shuts
They're
off at
skating on
10.
it.
Shuts
Yeah,
off
so-
at 10, yeah.
So should those lights be on until 10 every night? I mean, they're just, all this is just stuff to look at, but did anyone else do any research? No,
I went over there and.
but not online. No one went online and looked to see. Those were
I can
recommendations.
tell you what Nagani did with the brand-new bathrooms they built at Jackson Park.
They lock
They
them.
built them like the pavilion bathrooms.
Yeah, well, that's what
But they're also locked up a lot of times too. We were there for a group event based out of that park, and they were locked up at 10 in the morning. So I think it's really a matter of what you want to do, and then you direct us as staff to do it. And then, if you want them open in the evening, there's a cost associated with that because somebody's got to lock them up. Or we're going to have to buy mechanisms that automatically lock at a certain time. And then, can you guarantee they lock with nobody in them?
Porta potties.
Well, I'm not sure you want to do that. I've been thinking about this as it's being discussed. And I think that there's been some good suggestions made. We could follow them. But I also think that the ability to quickly lock that facility from the outside, if we ever detected anybody inside doing damage, lock it from the outside and go away for a day or two.
Well, there's merit to that, I think. I mean, I don't know if we could do it legally, but, you know, at the hotel, that's what we did. We had the pool locked with the key from the outside, so that if you could figure out how to get in there, you couldn't get back out. So, I mean, everybody checks it out every day, but depends on what kind of a lock it is.
So Letty, are the bathrooms at the ball field locked?
They are not.
So I am supportive of, let's look at the cost of changing the fixtures to be what they are, and we haven't had a lot of trouble at the ball field, right?
So I guess is the consensus to leave the bathrooms open for now while they investigate that, or?
I don't know. Open them when the staff opens them and shut them at 4 o'clock and sign them. We need signage there for sure.
And that's what we were planning on doing, was opening up at like 8 o'clock in the morning or 7:30 in the morning and shutting it down at 4 or 4:30 whenever they leave.
That's good.
Just so we sign
We
them
could start with that.
and say the other ones are open, because someone who doesn't live in our community or regularly use our park has no idea there's bathrooms over there. I know, but I don't want to take a child into a porta potty when there are flush toilets right there.
Well, they're not gonna be locked.
Well, I don't want,
Randy?
So these are my last comments on this
Call the
item.
question.
Well, there's been no
Oh, there's no
motion.
question.
But my last comments on this item is vandals are usually lazy. So you make things harder for them to vandalize, it probably won't happen. So if we built them like the pavilion where, you know, it's pretty Stone Age in there, but it's pretty, it's vandal proof. And for the last how many years I've been here, we might have had vandalism in there, but it hasn't been to the point of the warming facility. And go with the trespass orders, because I can tell you, if you get high school kids that like to skate and they vandalize and they're out of there, that's punishment. They can't come back there and skate for a season. Now their friends are going back and they're gonna be, and we got cameras on the ice rink too, so.
And they're already skating. They're
Yeah,
rollerblading.
rollerblading, but I mean, that's one of the options, is that trespass order ramps it up.
So how would it be, can we put an ad in, Roger, that periodically says that the township will issue a trespass order for any vandalism? You'd have to figure out how to word it. Maybe we run it once a month in the summer, or, you know, every other week
I
or
think that's a
something.
perfect opportunity, if we decide to do that, to put it on your back of your
Yeah.
utility bill.
Yeah, but I think the paper would help, the
In the
website
paper,
would
well,
help. as long
Christie's
as
here,
we're
I'm sure
allowed
she's
to
gonna do a
it.
story on it.
You could put a sign on the door for that matter, because I'm not sure how many 14, 15, 16-year-olds are reading their parents' utility bills. So,
Or the paper, but the parents do. And anybody who sees them might be more likely to
Well, I think to start, put the sign up, Lenny can make a sign, or we can get a sign that says, vandalism will not be tolerated, you will be issued a trespass order if, whatever, found guilty. or
Which will be enforced to the full extent of the law or
Yeah.
something.
And then you get a hold of Roger and find out how to write the sign.
And then,
Yeah, no problem.
and then, find out how much it'll cost for, vandal proofing that building. I think we do have some money left in the recreation millage to do that, so, and that's what it was. Unfortunately, we have to do that. It's being vandalized, so.
Pete?
When we talked about closing at 4 o'clock, for how long, for the summer? It's not gonna work like that for the winter time.
Right.
Because you have to have kids skating, the same thing at 4 o'clock, after kids go after school, they might wanna take their kids up there and the thing, if they have to go to the bathroom or something like that, I would say 6 o'clock, because then people are home.
We
You gotta
might
have
have
someone
the
to lock it.
bathroom
Huh?
more proofed by then, though.
Yeah, well, even now, by this winter.
I wouldn't count on it happening this
No,
season.
what you wanna see is not gonna happen in a week.
Oh, so how does it work in the winter? Who locks that building in the winter?
Our building and ground staff, they switch off with each other and lock it. They'll go back and lock it at the end of the, I think it was like 7:30, or maybe it was 8:30, I can't remember exactly what time.
Maybe we have to bite the bullet and pay them to go back and lock it at 7:30.
No, that's not.
It might have been later, it might have been like when the lights. were off.
7:30 is too early to have the ice rink closed down there.
No, in the summer.
Oh. Well, I thought we were talking about ice rink.
He
and
said
you-
it
Oh.
closes, that they lock it at 7:30 or 8:30.
Yeah, and I might be wrong, it might have been a little bit later.
Yeah, it's later than that, Lenny.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, come back and tell us what you come up with.
Either way, somebody was coming back after hours to lock it, whatever time it was there, so in the winter time, we were doing that when the rink was open.
Or you can have an
It just seemed
automatic
like
shut.
a lot more kids were just coming in there, in the winter time, we had a lot more people, actually skaters and using the rink. And then during the warmer weather months, it seemed like there was just more people just kind of roaming around in and out of there, kind of. They weren't really there to use the facility.
Okay.
Moving on.
So do you know what to do? Lenny, do you have consensus from us? Or do you still have questions?
So we'll keep it open, for now, we'll open up during the day and lock it, and then we will research, how much it will cost to lock it, or make it vandal-proof.
Sounds good.
As
Then
vandal-proof
a
as
sign
reasonably
to,
possible within the limits of our resources.
Right. And put some kind of sign up on the door? Okay.
Do we need this in a motion?
No, I think he can deal with it. He knows.
By consensus.
I would also say, let's be very careful about how many signs we put up and how much words are on it, because people do not read signs.
Either.
They do not.
Bullet them.
I used to argue with my husband all the time. He'd say, put up a sign. I say, they're not gonna read it.
Short bullets.
Okay, we're good on that?
Oh,
All right. Committee, planning, thanks, Lenny.
Body needs.
Planning Commission, Linda.
The Planning Commission met on Wednesday, July 27th. We had requests for special use permits. There were 4 requests, and they are all, I would say, connected. So that will be held in August, so watch for that to be posted. It's about medical marijuana grower license and processing license at the old Fish and is that what it was? Fish and Wildlife Building? No, yes, that's it. And then there was some more discussion about the proposed short-term rental located at 550. And that, we did get some information back from our attorney, and I think Jason is going to repost that public hearing. And Lake Enchantment is still an issue with property maintenance cleanup. And we're waiting to see the CIP stuff still. That's it.
Okay. Roger, do you have anything on Lake Enchantment while she mentioned that?
It's in the process of being cleaned up, to my understanding.
Okay, I just wanted an update. Right, roads?
We had a meeting tonight and we discussed road soft program, the update on that. We should have a report by Marquette County Road Commission by the end of August. We talked about street lighting, clear sight intersections, brush cleaning out. We had a request from Lake Enchantment, lighting over on that road. Additional street lighting in Trowbridge Park. John explained a little bit about the Forestville subdivision project. And then we will be getting, after we get all our road soft information, then we'll talk about the 2023 road maintenance repairs. We had a couple of complaints from Cherry Street off of Ontario about parking on both sides of that street there because it's so narrow and you can't go by, and she's afraid that somebody's gonna get hurt. So we dealt with that, we talked about that a little bit. And that's pretty much the big things that we talked about. We'll be getting back. We'll be following up with that.
If I may
Sure.
add to that, I do believe the roads committee is going to make a recommendation to you as a board regarding the parking on either side of Lions Field. I don't know if the language is completely there yet, but we will be checking with the road commission too to see whether or not we could work with the sheriff's department, maybe some assistance from our fire department to do temporary no parking signs for various reasons. There's obviously laws that have to be followed, but if all of the organizations involved are willing to work together, can we make something like that happen so we don't penalize the people that live there by giving them permanent no parking on their side of the road? Just trying to be smart about it so we don't penalize the people that came to us to express their concerns.
I think the road from Ontario to Erie would be a lot easier because the terrain and the water on long sides. So if we block the south side, it's not like on the other side of the park because you got parking on both sides and that's the land is even level. So that's, I'd say parking on one side wouldn't hurt them. So, but between Erie and Ontario, that's a problem.
So I have a question for the road committee.
Sure.
So I did mention at the last meeting that there's a problem during the Christmas holiday with parking on Vandenboom, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe, that would just really need temporary no parking on this side.
Well, you don't want to say no parking either. You guys research it a little bit and we'll come up with a good solution.
Okay, because, yeah, that's awful.
I just didn't want to talk about Christmas.
You don't?
I already did, but about Santa Claus.
Okay, events then. Next one is Saturday.
Saturday, it's coming Saturday from 8 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. We're gonna have, it's at the Lions Field. If you don't know where Lions Field is, it's right behind the old Vanderboom School off of Fair Avenue. We're gonna have music, 3 different bands, Diversion, the Reveals, and the Maynards. So that's gonna start up, and it'll be music right till 10 o'clock at night. We're gonna have Super One there cooking brats, burgers, chips, water. You can buy it right there. The sheriff's department's gonna be there with their patrol vehicle. We're gonna have vehicle tours, search and rescue, fire truck display, and have our ambulance there. The bouncy house, inflatable houses, what's the correct way? The bouncy houses, I'll call them, will be there. We'll have 2 of them there. And I'm asking, so if anybody got any extra time, I could use a little help over there. I just think it's gonna be a great time, so bring your own chairs, and there'll be enough food there. ball game's gonna be all day. And so come and enjoy, meet with your neighbors. Like I say, it's a fun time. I enjoy it all the time, so.
So Pete, what time is Super One gonna get there? Will they just start
What?
like about Super One? They start like about 11 o'clock?
The food, I believe he was starting at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
I have-
bring their own though, too.
Yeah, they can bring their own alcohol because we don't serve alcohol, but we'll have pop, water, chips all day long, so.
What time do the bands start?
The bands are going to start, I believe, at noon,
Okay.
and then it's going to go right till 10 o'clock at night. So bring your dancing shoes on.
Okay.
Looking forward to seeing everyone.
No public comment. We lost Christie. Any announcements from the board? Randy?
Okay, so primary election day was yesterday. I'll give you some rough stats from the township. We had in-person voting, 506 voters. Absentee was 621 for a total of 1127 out of a number of registered voters in the township of 3705, which is about a 31% turnout, which if I look back in my history, which I'll send you guys tomorrow, is very just right on what usually we get. So it's primaries are a low turnout election because most folks don't like to not cross vote in the party lines. So so no problems. Everything went well. I want to thank the poll workers for their service yesterday. It went very well. We got out of here about 10:30 last night because we had a little snafu at the end, which wasn't any of our fault. It just was a technology issue which we solved. So the next election will be November 8th. So it's the latest it possibly can be in a calendar year. So, and the folks that sent in their applications with checked for both elections, when we get the ballots in the middle of September, we will start sending those out because you've already registered for November. So as soon as we get them in September, we will start mailing those out about the middle of the month.
Okay. You want to talk about your cameras?
Yes, and finally, after waiting for some technology, we have a microphone now in the middle of the room that's on this, that looks like a ceiling tile, that will now capture the whole crowd sound. So if anyone is in the anyone in the crowd that speaks now will be heard. So we don't have to handle the we don't have to hand the microphone off anymore to folks. They'll be heard anywhere in the room. And we have a front camera, so that's why the podium is now in front of us, because we have a camera right here that will now face that person, so we will see them face, like the city, you will see them front facing. And we have our usual camera in the back of the room that will see us. And we have the possibility of live streaming, although I'm probably not going to do that immediately. I'm going to wait and see how the recordings go. But we do have the capability with this system to go live on YouTube like the city does.
Good job.
So finally, the technology upgrades have happened. So it took almost it was about 10 months. Well, 10 months from when it initiated it last year, but there was supply chain issues with some of this stuff. So looking forward, hopefully we're in good shape moving forward. Like I talked to the 906 people today, the camera they put in was 8 years old. 8 years we've been doing that, so.
It's amazing it stuck that long.
Yeah.
That stuff usually
And Linda had mentioned to me she thinks these TVs are too small. And I said, well, 8 years ago they were not.
They are.
I like them when they're small, makes me small.
They're hard to see.
So maybe in the future, we could look at upgrading these TVs to, we do have a big one in the community room now, that's an, I believe, an 80-inch, John. So, you know, maybe, I don't see this much, this one, but maybe the sides
The
we could
side
get
ones.
bigger. But we'll see moving forward, so.
What are those, 50 or 60?
I think these are 55. But at the time, that's what was, they didn't have 80 inches 8 years ago.
Or do you need a split screen up there?
Well, it's nice for the folks in the audience if you're gonna, you know, do any presentations
For
or,
the planning commission, it's great when people are in here looking at stuff.
yeah, because Jason can put
You
the
can-
stuff on the
yeah.
computer and then he can, you know, do a presentation and it's,
Yeah,
It's,
those maps
uh,
are little.
yeah.
They're really little.
So maybe that's something we put in, we look for the next budget year, in the CIP, maybe enlarging our screens in here.
Or from Spectrum money, charter
What-
money.
What have you, but it has to be probably a CIP project.
Any other announcements? Okay, managers report.
Thank you for hearing us out regarding the issues we have at the warming house. I think we've beat that subject to death for one night, so really, we don't really have any further to discuss regarding my report. Appreciate your time on that. It's a challenging issue. We'll see what we can do to resolve it without significantly increasing the cost if we can at least make the facility vandal-proof.
Any questions for the manager? Okay, you want to review our motions?
Okay, the first motion of the evening was the consent agenda as presented was passed. Second motion was approval of the regular agenda, and that was approved. Third motion was to authorize the supervisor to invite the county sheriff to a future meeting, and we can discuss vehicles, and that was approved. Fourth motion was to waive the alcohol policy on Community Day at Lions Field, and that was approved. And the fifth motion was to have the manager look at other options for insurance for the township, and that was approved.
Okay. So I don't have anything so far for the next agenda, but I'm sure something will come up. Any board member comment?
One thing for the, how soon could we put it on the agenda to discuss possibility of our own police department?
Do it the next time. Do you need some kind of information, or did you just
Well,
want basic
Maybe you
discussion?
should wait until after we talk to the sheriff and then, so the meeting after that or something, we can remember to do it.
Okay,
I think that would be more appropriate on a work session, because we do have historical data on that, and it just, I think board time, we don't want to waste an hour doing that, so maybe schedule a work session, maybe after, invite the county sheriff to a work session, where we can have more free-flow conversation also,
Good idea.
and bring some of that historical stuff up, because I know Linda, in the past, you were on, I believe, well, it was back when I was a trustee, but
Right, we were trustees.
you, I believe there was a committee that investigated that and looked at the cost. So we do have somewhat historical data on that. So maybe that would be something to take out of the shelf and look.
But I think that was, not to drag this on, but I think that was to, we looked at the cost, or you looked at the cost, that was not for a two-man department, was it? That was for like 4 or 5, 3?
Three-man board.
yeah, you'd have to have.
It wasn't for 4 or 5. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to pull it out and look.
Okay.
We have
I
it
don't
because
know.
we investigated it, and that, because I was on the board, and that's going back probably 16 years ago. But
It's right before I got on.
yeah, but we did look at it, and the cost at that time was not favorable for us to do. So, I mean, but we can investigate it again and look.
Areas have one-man department.
Yeah.
You know, we do have the state police, we do have the sheriff's department to cover vacation times and things like that too. So, yeah, we'll bring it, we'll do.
But I
look
think
forward
that's
to-
more
I look
appropriate.
forward to that work session.
Yeah, I think that's more appropriate to schedule, and maybe that's something we can do for a future agenda, schedule a work session for that.
Yes,
Maybe that's a good
Okay.
thing.
perfect.
So
Go ahead, Linda.
So Ernie's,
Question, on my date book, we have a projected meeting with the planning commission, a special meeting on the 24th of this month. Is that still moving forward, or is it we just on a discussion phase, a meeting set up?
Yeah, we were gonna, that's the date we picked, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, it's a date we
Yeah.
picked.
Did you happen to mention it to them?
5:30 on the 20th.
I did, I'll be out of town that day, so, I did mention it to them. They have a pretty full agenda
Yeah, it's been busy.
because now, yeah, so,
Public hearings
they
and
have some
such.
public hearings coming up, so, I'll touch base with Jason again.
Maybe we should wait until even Eric gets back.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Nothing
'Cause,
else.
it might be good to talk about, I'm gonna call it community-based housing instead of affordable housing, but community-based housing.
Sustainable housing.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and, they're gonna be pretty involved in some of those things, so, yeah.
Maybe we don't eliminate it, we just may have to pick another date.
Yeah,
Work with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to forget it, because that's what we.
Yeah, I'm glad you
we're talking
mentioned
about.
Good idea, yeah.
Well, I haven't posted it yet, so
Don't post it.
it's not posted yet, but if I have to look, it might have been the meeting before this, because I didn't see anything in my minutes.
Well, it's
but-
been on there for a while.
Yeah, but as far as
been a
us
couple meetings.
scheduling one, I have to make sure if we made a motion to schedule one, we have to, either, I have to post
Yes.
it and cancel it, or we just redo it.
I don't think we made a motion, I think we just said ask.
I think, yeah, I
Planning
think we said
commission.
that you can look.
I will look and
Said-
see, because if we did, I would have to post it and then technically cancel it
Okay.
and move it to another
I
date.
think we picked a date that worked for us, and then Linda was gonna ask him.
I will look at that.
I forgot about Eric, though. You kind of want Eric to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had your hand up?
Yes, I didn't want to bring it up before or start or say we're going to do it, is that during the community days, I was going to bring it up earlier, that we have our board come and sit at a table and advertise and meet your board for 2 hours or something like that. In the future, if you think something like that you would be interested in doing, you know? We always say we never sit to see it, they don't know us, but if we took 2 hours and just say, from here to here is meet your board members, and I think that might help with communications.
Great idea. I think.
Meet the board.
Excluding the clerk, because he meets everyone on election day.
You weren't there when I voted.
Oh, well, I'm traveling between two precincts,
I
but
know.
I'm fairly available on election day. Anyone that has questions can flag me down.
Yeah, put that in your notes.
And I surely had enough yesterday.
Did you?
Can I make a comment? I worked the election, and we had a lot of people, a number of people who had questions, and I have to give Kim and Randy kudos for what they did. They got all the questions answered, they got the people taken care of in that, and they were very happy in that. Some of them could not vote here, one had to go back up to Nagani to vote, and we had to go over to St. Christopher's and that, so, but we worked with them, and they were very happy that we took the extra steps to work with them, and that, they were very happy in that too.
What were their concerns? Any big
They weren't
concerns?
registered.
No, they thought they should have voted here, but when
Oh,
we
okay,
started
well,
looking at it,
okay.
no. And that they took, actually Kim and Randy, they went out of their way to make sure they had the information as to where to go, and that we're fine in that. And there was a couple people that came, and I suggested that they go to absentee ballots. It'd be a lot easier for them. I'm not going any further than that. That would.
They
that would be
struggled
about
to
it.
do it.
So, and I says, you come into the office, and the clerk and the assistant will more than happy to work with you and get it all taken care of, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. So I can't tell you if they're gonna do it or not, but I tried to put a bug in there to come forward in that too, so.
Thank you.
So I have one thing. Can you tell me when you think budget sessions are going to start? After the CIP or before?
Us. Yeah, we'll have to set
Okay.
the sessions.
Just because some
We
people
could do that.
might be going out of town soon,
Yeah.
like in the fall.
We could do that this month, and, set some dates.
I would think historically, if our budget isn't gonna be changing that much, which it historically hasn't, we usually did it in October
Oh, okay, perfect.
before deer season, because some people hunt. I'm looking at them.
Well, just so people can plan
So I'm
accordingly.
thinking more October month, that gives the staff, most of August and September to get the CIP done, and then,
Okay.
look at October for dates.
I would anticipate the CIP process should go pretty smooth once I can just get it all compiled too.
And then if the board wants anything CIP-wise, we should submit it.
I've written myself a note to maybe throw in 2 new TV monitors for this room. You may want to also consider whether or not you want that style microphone in the community room for when people are streaming meetings from there, similar to this.
I turned it off.
That's a wonderful room.
Sit on it.
Sorry.
We talked about, still on the budget topic, we talked about doing something with the HVAC in here. I would love to have especially in the office, not so much in here, but we've got air conditioning on and people have their windows open or they have their heaters on. It's just ridiculous. There's no,
We have no zones,
Yeah.
there's no zone, there's one zone in the whole office.
we're wasting. It's just not practical.
Hmm.
I've got a jacket because I know I'm gonna be cold because it's 69 in the office. And if I'm sitting there for 2-3 hours, I start getting numb, so that I'm not moving. But some people have
There's-
heaters going and the air conditioning's on. Go ahead.
We have mass balancing issues and we have significant heat loss issues through the windows. Andrew already went and got pricing to replace the windows, which you wouldn't think we should be considering, but that's where we're at. And a lot of heat loss coming in or going out with all these windows, so.
Maybe,
You
yeah.
can add it to the discussion. Randy?
Hey, one last, and kind of tagging on to Treasurer Johnson's comments about the election is, yeah, the public's got to realize, when they're coming through and, they have some responsibility themselves to, to do the voting and the voting laws. But some people just don't understand, and so we try to help them along because that's all we can do. And they realize we can't. I can't just stop the election and do for this or that. It has to continue on. It's like a game. You have to keep going, And we take them off to the side and help them as much as we can. So, but you're right. Absentee voting for some folks probably would be best.
Because they can sit down and spend some time on it. Then
Yeah,
they hold
yeah.
up the line and.
Yeah, and they have, it's better, I say, like Bernie said, we don't have to go any further than that, but that would probably be best for some.
What else? Dan?
I've been writing things down. I sit down here and I can't seem to get you to turn your head this way.
That's what your
I
button's
know,
button's
that
for.
doesn't work either.
I
but
watch it.
I got several things that I'd like to ask. Some of this probably should have came up on community linkage, but where are we with Panera Bread? Anybody have any, community has asked me, what's going on with that. Anybody have any information?
I can't say anything regarding Panera Bread.
Okay.
What I can tell you is, my understanding is the restaurant bakery on the highway is moving forward, but there's still some details they're ironing out.
I did run into one of our employees, and I'll pass that on, thank you. I did run into one of our employees that does some of the grass cutting. She was ecstatic with the new mower. She said it's so fast. It's just so much easier for her to cut, and they're very happy with that. What else do I got? Is it possible to have the township supervisor write a letter to the sheriff's department in regards to, what is our female deputy's name?
First name is Megan. I think her last name has changed recently. I can't remember the last
For
name.
the extra work that she did out behind the mall to get that all cleaned up. She went way over and above, and I just think she should be commended for that, to get all those broken down cars, and Dan Shanahan, the fire chief, said he tried for a year to get that stuff done, got nowhere. She got it done in a month. So I just think it would be nice if we could have a letter from the township commending her for that. Is that possible?
Anything's possible. Did, I don't know if I can say that out loud, never mind.
Okay, and
That's something maybe we can, when the sheriff is here, we can
All right.
pass
That's what I was
along.
gonna say, but I think Dan's thinking paper, so
Yeah.
she gets
just
recognized.
for her file, it's always nice to have an atta girl, And somebody else asked me too, why we don't have a hotel tax in the township for revenue for us. Is something like that possible?
Wow, that's state legislated.
It is?
Hotel taxes, yeah.
They can't do a local community?
Probably, I don't know, can we do our own, Roger?
I haven't looked at that in a lot of years, and I know that there are some legislative ramifications. I think it may be plausible, but I would have to look into that. I need to shoot from the hip.
Yeah, that's controlled, the legislature put that in like 62 or something. There's a, Travel Marquette gets 5%, and UPTRA, UP Travel and Rec Association in Iron Mountain gets 1%, and that came from Lansing. There's rules and regulations and how the hoteliers are actually responsible to pay it's an assessment, it's not a tax. The hotelier's responsible for that, and they are allowed to recoup it from the guests.
Even a 1%, would, as far as the township, would
I
help
don't know
our
if it can
revenue
be
immensely.
like spot zoning. I don't know. I think it has to be like
How do we
all the
find-
hotels.
How do we find out? Or is that,
I think our attorney was gonna look into that. He might research that.
I can look into that
Want
if
him
you'd
to
like.
spend the money on that?
well, a resident asked me why that can't be done, and I couldn't answer it.
Well, the city wanted to do a tax. When we first got to the hotel, they wanted to put like a 1% tax on all the hotels in the city.
Hell, they wanted to put a
It went to
1%
Lansing.
tax on every township employee
They wanted
that
to do
worked
that
in
too.
the city.
Yes, yeah. So it did get discussed in Lansing, and I know McBroom was part of that way back in the day, and so was Kivala. And it was shot down in Lansing. So that was a city tax on city hotels that they wanted to have.
There again, that's a common sense thing, it doesn't make any sense to me.
But I
Why
keep
Lansing
saying
should
tax, it's
dictate a 1% tax that we wanted to put on our hotels in the township, where we could charge 1% for all the tourists that come in, and yet, if they get an EMS call or whatever to go over there to help them, boom, we're right there to help them. And they don't get charged anything. It's just,
Well, the
sorry.
hotels pays their tax for that.
Okay.
Comes out of their pocket instead of the,
Well, we can
Tourist.
investigate it and see what happens.
With that note, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Wait,
Not through yet.
yeah, we have
Oh, we are.
board member
Yeah, he's done.
comments, right?
his list is done. Go ahead, Linda.
Oh, I just wanted to let the residents know that we now have electric doors to get into this building. And so the electric doors are into the main part of the building, and you just have to push the big silver button, and it opens the door magically. It's wonderful, I tried it.
Okay,
We do still have an issue with one of the interior doors. You may recall we had a flapper put on that door, so it would be, the flapper would be automatically open during our hours that were open to the public. It's not functioning properly currently, so if you push the button for that door, it'll be fighting against the flapper and it won't open. So we've shut the mechanism off for that and asked people to use the opposite door. They have to send somebody over to check and see what the issue is with it. It stopped working recently and we can't figure out why.
Need a new flapper.
Well, it works if you use a key card, but it's not automatically open during our office hours.
And that was on, again, our list of things to accomplish, so it was one of our goals. So we've
Yeah,
met a
that was
couple
an
of
old
goals,
We talked about that a
which
lot.
is kind of great. And Lynn's gonna put those goals up so we can all see them.
And cross them off, because we've
And
done
cross them off, the ones that are done, and know where we have to go next.
We did that before, we had stars every time but we had like 20 of them.
We don't have 20.
No, half a dozen.
But
30?
on the doors, door into when they're voting, that one outside door didn't close right or had some problems, and they had to force it. Were you told about that, John?
Andy has been looking for the solution to fix that. The way it was constructed has him scratching his head. So he thinks we're gonna have to just replace the center post and then hope that the header on it settles back down. Because the hole in the post where the live bolt goes in isn't lining up now.
My husband was doing that today,
That'll
fixing
bring-
our door. Yeah, it shifted.
Yeah.
What else?
Now we can make his motion.
Yeah.
Can we have a second then?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. What time is it? 8:16. We are adjourned.
End stream, John, end stream.